Brr,
Aha.
brr, 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 brr.
Okay, welcome to another Rich Alvarez live stream. Today, we are talking about PS3 and Xbox 360 games. This is a little bit different than our usual format because usually we'll be like, best Super Nintendo games or, we'll do best PC games. The reason why I am combining PS3 and Xbox 360 is this was, in my opinion, this was like the first generation that really had so much cross-platform stuff. You like there was a little bit of that in like the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 era. Like you'd get like Resident Evil 2 was on both consoles. It was on the PS1 first, but this was really, by the time we got to the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, there was just like half the games were for both consoles at least. And console exclusives kind of became a thing in the past, except for Nintendo consoles have always had a good selection of console dedicated games, of course, because most of them are made by Nintendo themselves. So in this case, I wanted to combine them, so I don't think it was inappropriate that I make a 360 plus PS3 list. In fact, you'll notice that I believe all of the games we're going to be talking about today, except for one, are on both. 4 out of the 5 games are on both consoles. Only one game we're talking about today is actually exclusive to one of the consoles. So I wanted to do combination, and Chris agreed with me because he has
Totally agree. Absolutely. And I wanted to mention real quick, as far as this one goes, I played about half the games on this list because I was more into the Nintendo games at this era. So I never had a PlayStation, but I did have a 360. So Rich is probably going to kind of take the lead on some of the ones I didn't play. But I remember Rich talking a whole bunch about these when we first started. So just wanted to be transparent that a few of these I didn't actually play myself.
All right.
And then real quick, just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who jumped in. So I see we've got Nicholas Patton, Connor Stone, 8person, and Zach Pat all in the chat. So thank you guys for jumping in. Looks like we have about 8 people watching. So I think, and then Kyle jumped in as well. So I'll let Rich kind of start us off. And as a reminder, the way that the Top 5 Live works is there is going to be a section for honorable mentions. And if you guys want to super chat your honorable mention, we will mention it as well. Obviously not required, just a suggestion and something that we appreciate, but no worries if you don't want to. So with that said, Rich, I'll let you get going here.
All right. We are going to number 5 on our list here, which is, as I like to say, of course, Metal Gear Solid 4. Sorry, I had to hit the button. It is a Kojima production. This is just the opening of the game. Anyways, Metal Gear Solid 4, I could not in good conscience make this list at all unless this game was on this list. And had you asked me when the game came out, I think I would have said, because I believe the game came out in 2008, and it predates, I believe, most of the games on this list, if not all the games on this list. This was a very early PS3 game. And this is the one game that is exclusive to PS3. The rest are on both consoles. Metal Gear Solid 4, in my opinion, is not only one of the best Metal Gear Solid games, it could be the best, except I'm partial to Metal Gear Solid 1 on the original PlayStation, but Metal Gear Solid 4, to me, was just the perfect culmination of Solid Snake's story. It perfectly wrapped up, in my opinion, everything that we actually cared about when it came to the Metal Gear Solid series, which is, of course, Solid Snake, which is why it's called Metal Gear Solid, a lot of people do like Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't. I think it kind of ruined Big Boss and that whole dynamic, but other people have their own opinions, and of course a lot of that has to do with Kojima was fired from Konami like before he really got to put his stamp of approval on it and finish the game, and so Konami kind of rushed the ending on Metal Gear Solid 5. So in my opinion, I pretend that Metal Gear Solid 4 is the last Metal Gear Solid game, and it's a perfect ending. I mean, you could even see in this intro how Snake and Otacon, they're like, we're getting old and war. It just combined all of the great stealth mechanics from the previous games, and of course this was when it was still stealth mixed with a lot of action. People really like the more stealthiness of Metal Gear Solid 5, but I feel like then they really took away from the action aspects of the series. I mean, for all of the right reasons, Metal Gear Solid 4 is a perfect game, has a lot of great cinematic moments. There's a whole chapter where you go back to Shadow Moses from Metal Gear Solid 1, and you get to drive a Rex, and it's just a really solid game, and, you know, a 10 out of 10 in every respect. And you know, Snake is, you know, he's old, but he's looking a lot older than he should because of the Fox Die virus he got in Metal Gear Solid 1. And man, I don't know, I feel like I could just gush about this game for hours, so I probably shouldn't. You know, Chris, I know that your experience with Metal Gear Solid has either been me trying to explain the convoluted storyline to you, or watching me play Metal Gear Solid games. So I don't know what you thought about this, but it's such a beautiful game. That's all.
That is a perfect way to put it, because I remember watching you play through Metal Gear Solid 1. You basically did a private Let's Play session for me, which was awesome. And then when this one came out, I think I saw you play bits and pieces of it. But the one thing I remember from Metal Gear Solid 4 is that this came out when we were making Stupid Mario Bros. And there was a fight scene we actually were directly inspired by. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was one in specifically where like they both punch each other at the same time, and then their wrists go down. I think it was between Snake and Revolver. Ocelot. Yeah. Do you know? So do you remember that? I think it was when Nox Decius and Mario fight each other. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of neat that a lot of the video games that we were into really influenced and inspired some of the stories that we wanted to tell in Stupid Mario Bros. So when I think of Metal Gear Solid 4, I think of I think we were in season 2 at the time. Yeah, because that was the big finale at the end of season 2. So we're talking like summer of 2008, around episode 30. And clearly we were very, very into this game. So it just goes to show Metal Gear Solid 4 is such a good game, it even inspired Stupid Mario Bros.
I mean, yeah, I'm very inspired by the Metal Gear Solid series in every respect of everything I write. So like really, I'm always thinking about, you know, like what would Snake do in this situation, you know. Obviously, nice. Julian loved Metal Gear as much as I did, and he really wanted to play Snake, and so we had Snake come in. Into our series. But anyways, yeah, so that's number 5. Anyways, let's go back over here. So before I mention number 4, and I think Chris mentioned this earlier, but as usual, if you guys have a favorite PS3 game or Xbox 360 game, don't forget to super chat us and let us know what your honorable mention is, and we will go ahead and mention you and your game when we talk about honorable mentions coming up after number 3. But first, let's get to number 4. And what am I going to say, guys? Number 4 is, of course, Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 1, which is kind of the sequel to Red Dead Revolver, and also kind of the sequel to Red Dead Redemption 2, but maybe we'll get to that in another video.
In this game, I actually played a ton of, so I will have a lot to say about it, but I'll let Rich go first.
So the thing about Red Dead Redemption is we were teased by Rockstar years ago that we were going to be getting something more in the IP of Red Dead Revolver, but that they wanted it. And then separately, they were talking about doing a Grand Theft Auto game in the Old West. And then I guess at some point at Rockstar, the two ideas kind of came together, and we got Red Dead Redemption, which is essentially a Grand Theft Auto game in the Old West. Although I mean, obviously there's no cars, but you know, you can still wagons and horses, and you know, the general layout of the game is essentially the same. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is GTA in the Old West, but it has a really good story. You know, Marsden is a great character. You know, his whole redemption, for, you know, no pun intended, redemption arc here, you know, is great. He is such a great character, and you know, the only reason why Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't on this list is because that's a PS4/Xbox One game. But I do actually think that I may like Red Dead Redemption 2 even more. But Red Dead Redemption 1 is still a fantastic game, and you know, just proved that you could do the GTA engine in a completely different setting. Now, my only question is, when are we going to get GTA in space?
Very nice. And by the way, we just got our first super chat from EDMG. Thank you, EDMG. Once we get to honorable mentions, we'll discuss your game, but I wanted to give you a quick call out and thank you for the $2. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Red Dead?
Oh, so many. Okay. So this was there were two games that put me over the edge that came out around the same time, and this was one of the games that persuaded me to get an Xbox 360 so I could play this. Anyway, the thing that I love about Red Dead is every once in a while I will go through a phase where I stop playing video games and I need a game that sparks me and gets me back into the gaming world, and I remember vividly that this was one of them. The first thing is that before this game came out, there was not really a definitive Western video game, because remember, Western movies were extremely popular in like the 50s and 60s, and then they kind of stopped being something in like the public zeitgeist, and I feel like this kind of brought it back.
Doing spaghetti westerns and he started making Dirty Harry movies, you know.
Exactly, yeah. And just to give you guys a little bit of info, so the music of Westerns is very, very important. I am a sucker for good Western music. Ennio Morricone, who sadly passed away, although he lived a very long life, but he recently passed away, actually, I think like a month ago. But he did the classic music from like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You know that? Yep, Rich just did it. Yeah. So yeah, if there's a video online, if you look at this video, it's called The Making of the Music in Red Dead Redemption. It like blew my mind. They went out and they found these old instruments from like the 1800s to make that iconic sounding music. In the game, because the music is so good, the immersion on this game is just off the charts. Like if you have not played Red Dead Redemption 1, get yourself an old 360 or a PS3. Unfortunately, they haven't made a PC version yet. Hopefully they will someday, but probably not. But when you play this game, the music immerses you in the world. And the other thing I liked about this game is that you would just get lost wandering around this wild west world. Like I loved going around hunting for treasure, chasing guys with bounties, you know, going hunting. Like, oh, it's so good. Like this game really was unlike anything else, and I had not actually even played any of the Grand Theft Auto games before I played Red Dead, so this was my first jump into a Rockstar game. I would later go on to play some, which we'll talk about in a bit, but anyway, I can't speak highly enough about Red Dead. The plot's amazing, the music amazing, the world is great, the controls are really slick. Like, oh, I absolutely love Red Dead, and this is probably, if I haven't made a definitive list, but if I were to say like my top 5 video games of all time, I look back extremely fondly on Red Dead because of how amazing that experience was. So I probably gushed about this game longer than I needed to, but point is, I love Red Dead, and if you haven't played it, I could not highly recommend it enough.
Yeah, Red Dead is good. All right, before we introduce our number 3 game, is your last reminder, but probably not your last reminder, that you can super chat your honorable mention, and we have one from EDMG7 already that we're going to get to after we talk about our number 3. Okay, our number 3 is, of course, Fallout New Vegas. Oh, I bet you guys knew this was coming if you know anything about me. Anyways, actually, this is really cool. We're watching somebody's remastered where they like bumped up the everything to like, anyways, here's Good Springs. Good Springs is very iconic to New Vegas. It's one of the places you go to along the Route 66. I love how do I put this in terms that don't make me seem like a total fanboy? I love post-apocalyptic stuff. I love Mad Max, and I love Fallout. I love for the most part, I think I've enjoyed all the Fallout games except for maybe 76, but that's another story. But Fallout New Vegas, the reason why Fallout New Vegas made the list and not like Fallout 3, for example, is because Fallout New Vegas actually it took some of the developers from the first 2 Fallout games and brought them into Obsidian, who actually developed this game. It was still published by Bethesda, who developed Fallout 3, and Bethesda bought the Fallout license, but then they let Obsidian Entertainment develop New Vegas, and Obsidian brought in guys from the first 2 Fallout games. And so in a way, Fallout New Vegas is kind of the Fallout 3 that we should have got, because it continues the story of the new California Republic and the Eastern expansion, whereas Fallout 3 took place in Washington, D.C. And don't get me wrong, I love Fallout 3, and it is a superb chef's kiss game, but New Vegas beats it for me on the lines that it is, in my opinion, the true continuation of the story, and also it just is a slightly better game in every aspect of the game. And on top of that, it feels more post-apocalyptic to me because, again, Mad Max fan here, in my opinion, the post-apocalypse is the desert, and there's no better desert than the Mojave Desert, and exploring Route 66, and then, of course, going to New Vegas, which is, of course, Las Vegas, and it feels too perfect. You know, this is a game I can replay any day. And it is still fantastic. Just wandering around that open desert wasteland, killing giant ants, as you can see that this guy's doing in this video. You know, going around, look at these giant statues made out of trash. You know, this is one of the Mojave outposts. Just the complete, I don't even know. You know, chef's kiss. Again, just perfect. 10 out of 10. You know, one of my favorite games of all time. It's taken that old Elder Scrolls engine and really putting it to the max here. It's just a great game, and I'm sorry that I'm using such vague terms. It's just like there's a lot I'd like to say, but it's such a good game. I don't even want to spoil the plot points because you can never experience this game the way you experienced it the first time, and you just need to play it. If you've never played Fallout New Vegas, please play Fallout New Vegas. This is one of those games, you know, we'll get to on a lot of these lists where this could have been number one, but there are two games that I think arguably I like at least just as much, and for completely different reasons, and that we'll get to in a minute. Anyways, I just, you know, obviously you've watched, if you guys have watched our Fallout Elwood series, you know, which, you know, is very, you know, obviously Fallout inspired, but, you know, mostly Fallout New Vegas with a little bit of Fallout 2 in there. I just love it. I just love it to death. Anyways, you got anything to say, Chris, before I just keep going how great this is?
I guess a couple points. I've never played a Fallout game all the way through, but I have watched Richie play them. So, like Rich said, obviously he's such a huge Fallout fan. Again, the series inspired Rich to make the Elwood fan series. And then the other thing I was going to mention, actually, it's a question to you, Rich, is out of all the Fallout games you played, which one's your favorite? Is it New Vegas?
Oh, it is definitely New Vegas, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Easy question. And yeah, I wanted to mention EDMG sent a second super chat and Killjoy sent 2 super chats, so we will be discussing those here in a bit as soon as we do honorable mentions.
I could have sworn I saw someone else super chat as well, but maybe I missaw. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Anyways, so that is...
It was EDMG did 2, and then Killjoy did 2. Oh, sorry. Never mind. No, you're right. Marty Man just did. Thank you, Marty Man. You're right, Rich.
Okay. Anyways, that was Fallout New Vegas. That's our number 3. And again, it's hard for me to put that at number 3 because it's one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, unfortunately, we have to move on, and I can't just keep gushing about Fallout New Vegas as much as I love Fallout New Vegas. Anyways, yeah. To open up our honorable mention section of this list, we're going to play the ad from Halo 3 that came out, which was the diorama ad that I really enjoy. And
yes.
Here it is. It's like, it almost looks real until you look too close, and then you realize it's a bunch of dolls.
Did you want me to start, or did you want to start?
Yeah, you could talk
Halo?
About it.
Okay, so this was tough when we were looking at all the games. We almost put this as one of our top 5. So if this had been like a top 6 list, it would have been number 6. And this is specifically Halo 3. I know Halo 3 and Halo Reach both came out during this era. I love the Halo series. Now, I will be completely honest here, and I've never actually played through any of the storylines of the game. I've just been obsessed with playing online. And Richie and Matt both used to give me tons of crap and be like, Chris, how can you consider yourself a fan of the Halo series? And all you do is just play Xbox Live, and you don't even enjoy the amazing plot that has spanned over several games and blah, 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 blah. anyway, they do have a good point, but uh, you gotta understand, playing before like battle royales got really popular and before Call of Duty got really popular, Halo was the game for online first-person shooters, and I've never been that big of a first-person shooter fan except for the Halo series. And some of my absolute favorite memories of Halo 3 was actually hanging out with Richie and Matt and Doug. The four of us would have LAN parties all the time where the four of us would hop on to Xbox Live and play against other people. And the fun I had during that era because of just the amazing online multiplayer aspect is some of my absolute favorite memories of gaming.
But
So
you
yeah.
should really play. I know you won't, but you. I mean, the reason why the Halo series is so good is because of Master Chief and the story and the Flood and everything that happens in that game. I'm gonna put you on the spot. So.
Anyway, I would at some point like to play all those, and I actually own the Master Chief collection, so it'd be very easy for me to do it. The thing is, like, yeah, but point is, I would just want to make sure that we did mention Halo and that some of my favorite memories of this era are Halo LAN parties.
So yeah, Halo 3, it's on the top of our honorable mentions list. It for me, it doesn't quite make the top list because Halo 3 for me showed a little bit of a decline in Bungie, and eventually Microsoft would just buy the Halo series outright from Bungie, and then Bungie would move on to like Destiny and other projects. And I strongly feel that it really shows a decline in interest because Halo 1 and 2 were so good. And I really love everything that happens in those games. Halo 3, it's still good, but it kind of shows a little bit of decay a little bit, and it's hard for me to explain. I just remember playing the game and thinking like, this isn't as good. However, we still have not done top 5 Xbox original list, and spoiler alert, Halo 2 will be on it. But
that'll be in a future stream, I'm sure.
Yeah, but Halo 3, it's still a great game, top of our honorable mentions list, but just didn't quite make the mark for me. I don't know. I have my own reasons, and I'm weird about it. But anyways, doesn't matter. Now, Chris, why don't you read off some of our fan-submitted honorable mentions?
Sure. So we're going to start off with EDMG, who said any of the 3 Uncharted games. Yeah, I actually have a little bit to say about this, but Rich, did you want to start off? Because I know that you are much more in depth with that series.
Yeah, I really love the Uncharted series as well. I was thinking about that when we were making the list, but ultimately I feel good about the 5 games that I chose for this list. Uncharted, of course, is a PlayStation exclusive series. And I was very close to putting the original Uncharted on this list, but because that's my favorite out of the first 3. My favorite might even be Uncharted 4, but again, that's PS4. But I think Naughty Dog really showed that how well they can make an action-adventure game, and those are probably the closest games you're going to get to like playing an Indiana Jones game, even more so than playing like the 2 crappy Indiana Jones games that have come out over the years. But Uncharted is great. It really improves on the quote-unquote Tomb Raider formula. And I'm really excited to see Tom Holland play Nathan Drake in the upcoming Uncharted film, but that's a different story. But I love the adventure. I love shooting monsters and like other competing explorers and going on these epic quests with maps and Sully giving you crap. And it's just a really great game with a lot of great dynamics to it. It's just again, if this might have been one of the cases where we should have done a top 10 for this thing, but and then at least one of the Uncharted games would have made it on. But yeah, they are great games, and it would be a shame to not mention them. That's why we're mentioning them now. Love Uncharted. Anyways.
There you go. And just real quick, I wanted to mention, thank you, Gia News, for the very generous super chat of $20. We will get to you here in a second. Appreciate that. And again, if anybody else wants to super chat and jump in, we'll cover your games as well. I did have a little bit to say about Uncharted. From what I remember, is this was actually at the time Julian's favorite video game series. So I like every time I went to hang out with him back in the day, he was playing one of the Uncharted games. And then I remember talking to Rich about it, and Rich told me that if I didn't have a chance to play the games, he encouraged me to watch a cinematic cut. So I actually watched the YouTube cinematic cut. Somebody just uploaded all the cutscenes and some of the gameplay of the first game, and Rich is totally right. It feels like a modern day Indiana Jones. Like it's got that swashbuckling adventure feel to it, like where they're looking for some kind of ancient artifact that's exciting. So it definitely is like, if you like that genre of movies, it's really fun to watch. It's easy to pick up and play, at least from what my friends have told me, because I've never played it myself. But yeah, great series from a story perspective.
All right, Chris, what is our next fan-submitted honorable mention?
Great question. This is back-to-back EDMG, who said Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch.
Yeah, Ni no
and
Kuni.
I will be honest, I've never played this or even heard of it, but I pulled up the Wikipedia article so that I knew what it was.
I think you have heard of it, because I remember we were playtesting it at like an E3 back in the day.
Oh,
Anyways,
you're right.
So I had the game.
Remember that now.
Essentially, this game borrows this. I mean, I think Studio Ghibli's name is on it, and of course, Ghibli is like the if you guys have ever heard of My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Howl's Moving Castle, like that's Studio Ghibli. This borrowed the art style from Ghibli, although it is developed by a video game development company, and they just slapped Ghibli's name on it so they could use kind of the likenesses. Although they made a completely original game, which is good. Although as much as I like Ni no Kuni, it would have been cool to get a game actually based on like Howl's Moving Castle, for example, or Castle in the Sky would have been dope. But it is essentially a Pokemon game. Sorry guys, it is a Pokemon game because you are collecting monsters and using them in battle, and it's an RPG, and it's essentially Pokemon with that Ghibli style. It is not as good as Pokemon, and I enjoy the game, but it's not something I would consider one of my favorite games, and that's why it didn't make the list. But it is still a good game, and so I appreciate y'all, EDMG7, for bringing it up.
Oh, and Rich, did you want to put up since we're on honorable mentions, a compilation?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I just had it frozen on the Halo 3 loading screen.
I was so into talking about these games, I forgot. We usually have
Anyways,
a compilation
enjoy
plan.
this compilation video while we talk about our honorable mentions. Here's Alice, that one gothic Alice in Wonderland game.
And then yeah, this is just going to be a mashup of a whole bunch of games. So since we're going to be jumping back and forth between honorable mentions, the syncing probably won't line up, but you'll see a few. Next up, Killjoy super chatted the Borderland series, which I never played, but I'm pretty sure Rich was super into it at one point. So take it away, Rich.
Yeah, so Borderlands is a fantastic series. At the moment, I can't remember at what point it switched from like Xbox 360 to Xbox One. I believe at least the first Borderlands was on Xbox. No, in fact, I know for a fact at least the first one was on 360 because I had it on 360. So Borderlands, it's pretty good. It takes place on another planet called Pandora, and it is you use a lot of flashy guns, and it kind of feels a little bit like, I don't know if anybody's ever played the Rage series, but it kind of feels like a combination of Rage plus Fallout, but less fun. I know a lot of people really like Borderlands, and when I'm playing multiplayer Borderlands once in a blue moon, like Borderlands 2, it can be fun, but I don't know. I remember I enjoyed Borderlands, but for whatever reason, it just didn't get me, and I think I was just kind of going in with the expectation that it was going to be like a more savage, more off the rails version of Fallout, and it ended up being not that at all. So I think I ruined it for myself, but I will admit that it is a really good game, but it's not one of my favorites. That's all.
And I remember lots of people cosplaying as Borderland characters, because this is the one that has that really unique comic book looking art style, right?
Yes, it had everything's kind of like has that shell shaded, like comic outline. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love the aesthetic.
I think Mad Moxie is a great character, but and it has influenced a lot of excellent cosplays. But Yeah, again, the game I think is just average, but it's still good.
Very
We're
nice.
watching all these Assassin's Creed clips. Nobody brought up Assassin's Creed because you've played one, you've played them all, except for Black Flag. Except for Black Flag. Black
Yeah,
Flag is good.
I'll I'll quickly, since we're on Assassin's Creed, I'll quickly mention the plot for the first few games was pretty cool. Like, I actually remember somebody on Reddit typed up a detailed overview just explaining the plot, and just reading that as like a text-based story was pretty fascinating. So I'll give a shout out, very creative writers to that series.
Okay.
Anyway, next up, we got another super chat from Killjoy, who said, "A wolf among us is good," with an emoji with hearts and a smiley face.
Thank you, Killjoy, for talking about A Wolf Among Us. I've heard that it's a great game. Unfortunately, this is the first game we've mentioned that I've actually never played.
Well, that's okay, because I just pulled up the Wikipedia article.
Oh, excellent.
And I've never heard of it, but here's what Wikipedia says. The Wolf Among Us is an episodic graphic adventure game based on Bill Willingham's Fables comic book series. It is developed by Telltale Games. It is canon with the comic book universe and is set as a prequel to the comic book. The game consists of 5 episodes that were released throughout 2013, and it's on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One.
Yeah.
And it has a cult following, and critics reviewed it pretty well. So
I have heard that
it
is good, and I like the art that I've seen from it, but it's one of those games that for whatever reason I never got around to. But it looks cool, so thank you.
Now, Telltale, what are they most known for? That sounds very familiar. Oh, The Walking Dead.
Well, yeah, they make
did
the Telltale Walking Dead series. They also did a Batman game. It's a lot of story-driven stuff. So it's like kind of like, oh god, what's the game that Square did? The one that Jackie likes a lot. The like pseudo time traveling.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. It's kind of like Life is Strange. Like, that's kind of like the format is just kind of like story building and making choices, sort of stuff.
Nice. Cool. Okay. Well, next up, Marty Man very cleverly said, "I'm going to throw a wrench and say Sonic 2006."
Oh no!
Thank you for the super chat, Marty Man. Did you want to start on that one, Rich?
You wasted your super chat on that one. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Sonic 2006 is infamous because of how bad it is. It was supposed to be like, they presented like, this is the next generation of Sonic. They didn't want to make another Sonic adventure game. They wanted to make something that felt completely different. And what we got is like what feels like they were trying to make a hybrid of like Sonic and Final Fantasy, with like this kingdom and there's a princess, and it just, for so many reasons, and it's not just because of the setting. The setting could have been fine if the game was good. It's just the game wasn't great. And it ends up feeling, and this is going to sound weird for a Sonic game, it feels very slow. Gotta go slow. And just,
you're too slow.
I remember, I was excited to play it, and then I started playing. I was like, 2 hours in, I'm like, is this supposed to be good? I don't know. It just felt really weird, and I don't know what they were thinking, but obviously everybody has a problem with it for the same reason. It just isn't good.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to mention, if you guys have not seen the Game Grumps playthrough of this game, Sonic 06 is, in addition to everything Richie said, notorious for having broken controls, because there are some games where the controls don't work very well, so it was unpolished, unfinished. They spent all this time marketing it to make it seem like it was going to be like the renaissance of the Sonic series, and it was just this terrible piece of garbage. So terrible that like people joke about it as being one of the worst games ever made. And it's funny because I remember at the time, Rich and I were getting really into Sonic. Like, we had been waiting for them to, to do some stuff, like, because Sonic, I'm trying to think, what era was this? Was this,
so it's
like
2006? So this was after Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and we kind of expected the next game to be Sonic Adventure 3, but instead they gave us this.
Right. So yeah, so that's why at the time I loved Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube. So coming into, we were expecting Sonic 06 to be as good, if not better, and we got a hot pile of garbage. So I think the reason it hurt so much is because people were expecting something amazing and were extremely disappointed. But it sounds like later on the Sonic team finally got their act together and made some better games. Like, what was the one that felt like a return to form? Was it
So
Sonic
Sonic
4?
Mania
Sonic
is
Mania, right?
is an excellent game, and the reason why it's so cool too is because they saw a couple of modders, like people that were modding Sonic and Knuckles and making their own levels, and Sega, instead of like giving them a cease and desist, hired them to make Sonic Mania. And so Sonic Mania is made by a combination of fans and the Sonic team. And what we get is this excellent swan song and love letter to the original Sonic games. Sonic Mania is just fantastic. And for me, my favorite Sonic game had always been like Sonic and Knuckles. So to me, Sonic Mania is like, it feels so good to be playing a new Sonic game that looks and feels like the old games, but has so many cool new things to it too, and a bunch of cool levels. Yeah, Sonic Mania is great. But yeah.
I think we have a love-hate relationship with Sonic because there's been some amazing games in the series, and then there's been some extremely disappointing ones. And if you guys haven't heard of a YouTuber called Super Eyepatch Wolf, he did a really good retrospective on the entirety of the Sonic franchise and all the ups and downs. So check that out if you want. In my opinion, one of the best Sonic overviews in the entirety of YouTube.
All right, Chris, do we have any more honorable mentions?
We do. We have one more, and it's from GN News, who said the Kingdom Hearts games, and also said SMB Anniversary Reunion. I guess I'll touch on the reunion first. So we did a reunion live stream here back in July for the anniversary of the RichAlvarez channel. So check that out if you haven't, because it was me, Richie, Matt, and Garrett, and we also had a bunch of cast in the live chat, like Scott and Aaron, and I think Claudia and maybe some others. And Christine, Richie's sister. So that's the closest we ever got to a legit anniversary. But an ongoing joke that might be real someday is if Matt ever visits from the East Coast, Rich and I and Matt have joked about doing a complete recreation of episode 1. So I'd still love to do that if Matt ever visits.
But don't get your hopes up on that one. Anyways. Okay, so
just like probably not.
Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were on the PS2, and Kingdom Hearts 3 ended up being delayed so badly that we didn't get it until PS4. So the only Kingdom Hearts games we got on the PS3 were the like collections. Like they had the revamped versions of 1, 2, and a bunch of the spin-offs that had come out on DS, 3DS, even there was one on Game Boy Color that they redid in PS2 graphics, which was something I can't remember. But yeah, like there are some gems in those handheld ones though, like Dream Drop Distance and Birth by Sleep. But we didn't really get a true PS3 and Xbox 360 for that matter. We didn't get a true Kingdom Hearts game for those consoles. But I will honor your honorable mention by saying that the collections looked nice and they were good. But yeah, that's all we got was collections on these consoles.
And Rich obviously is a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts series and has made some really good videos on it. The best one, in my opinion, being the Wiki Richie Kingdom Hearts video, which is, I think, in the Wiki Richie compilation mashup that he posted. But check that one out if you want Richie's true thoughts on Kingdom Hearts.
All right. So is that the end of fan-submitted honorable mentions?
It is. We are all caught up. So
well, then I just want to quickly go through anything else that we might have missed.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that, like the Batman games, there were some clips of it in this compilation. I love Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Those games are excellent. And without those games, we wouldn't have games like the Spider-Man PS4 game, which obviously heavily borrowed from that. We are about to get Gotham Knights. They announced it at the DC Fandome last month, and that looks freaking awesome as well. Really excited for all that. What else did I write down? I don't have that list in front of me.
You want me to? Yeah,
just go
Last
through
of
the
Us,
list.
God of War
Last
3,
of Us is really
BioShock,
great.
and Final Fantasy 13.
Well, I'm gonna get to that last, but anyways, but yeah, BioShock. I love BioShock, especially the first BioShock. Infinite is really good too, but the first BioShock it's another game that could have gone on this list. It's really great. It has a lot of great metaphors to philosophy, especially Ayn Rand, and it gets really heavy into that. Heck, the villain is called Atlas. For all one person in this group that might be familiar with the book Atlas Shrugged. But anyways, it's a really good game, really clever, really deep, and it's really good. BioShock is great. Anyways, did you have anything you want to say about BioShock, Chris?
I never played that game. In fact, most of the games that you listed off, I didn't play. I mean, it was fun watching you play God of War because I remember I watched you play that a bit at one point. And then I think I'm down to hear you rant about Final Fantasy 13 again.
I mean, I'm going to keep this very brief because I've made so many videos about this. It's just a real shame that we have this whole generation, the PS3, Xbox 360 era, where there is not. This is the first generation that does not have a good Final Fantasy game, because what we got was Final Fantasy 13, which was the biggest piece of crap. And you've seen my videos on it. I mean, a lot of people like it. It can be fun. It kind of ruined the format and just turned it into this, corridor running, boring, uninteresting characters melodrama that I just don't like at all. And it would take Final Fantasy 15 to really save the series for me later down the road on the PS4. And then, of course, now we're getting the Final Fantasy 7 remake, which, the first part that we got was excellent, and I love that. So Final Fantasy is kind of finally coming back to good graces with me, but Final Fantasy 13 really put a bad taste in my mouth for a long time. And I have a lot of reasons for that. And if you want to know, go find my Wiki Richie collection, because part of that is me ranting about Final Fantasy 13.
I was just about to mention that the Wiki Richie era was very high end edit. We had some help in the editing process with, I think, my cousin Dominic, who did a good job adding a bunch of the ridiculous text. And I think that that was when you were inspired by JonTron during that era, and really went in depth on your thoughts on games you liked and games you disliked. So again, if you guys haven't seen the Wiki Richie videos from the 2012, 2013 era, check out the big compilation piece, because that is some extremely entertaining content, especially the Final Fantasy 13 one.
All right, we got to try to wrap this up a little bit soon,
Sure.
So we got to continue on with our actual top 5 list. I know we get caught in the honorable mentions for so long. So to recap, we had Metal Gear Solid 4 at number 5. We had Red Dead Redemption at number 4, and at number 3, we had Fallout New Vegas. And now, here is our number 2 choice, which is, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5, which is, it's funny when you think about it, because now we've had 2 Bethesda, hold on, spoilers! We have 2 Rockstar games on this list so far, and there'll be another game that is developed by the same, well, I already spoiled it, but you'll see, and everybody knows what I'm going to say anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is so good because I was already a huge fan of, I've always been a big fan of Grand Theft Auto. I love the Grand Theft Auto series. Grand Theft Auto 5, to me, I'm not really including Grand Theft Auto online on this, although I know a lot of people like online, but I'm talking about the base game with the story here. You got Franklin, Michael, and Trevor. The ability to switch between the 3 characters, and each one of them has their own unique and stylistically different story, and then they come together on missions, and being able to switch between them during missions was a really cool thing to add. It added a lot of dynamic to the already incredible Grand Theft Auto system, and also just everything that was the Grand Theft Auto system has been improved in this game. The missions are fun, the characters are great, the dialogue is fantastic. If there was I know that there's been various game awards over the years, and we lost the big video game awards when Spike TV stopped doing it or whatever, but if there was a nationally recognized, as big as the Oscars award show, then this game deserved every award. Everything about this game is fantastic. I love the car selection. I love the gun selection. I love when you switch to a character after you haven't played as that character for a while, and they're drunk in the ditch somewhere, and you have to kind of shake them into cohesion. It's just a bunch of really wild stuff. You'll switch to Michael, and then he'll be in the middle of an argument with his wife, and it just adds a lot of fun, goofy realism to it, and it's just a whole lot of fun. I don't know. That's it.
So this one, I actually played this game, and the reason I played it is because I had so much fun playing Red Dead. I decided it was worth giving one of the GTA games a chance, and I gotta say, I had a ton of fun. Personally, I still enjoyed Red Dead more, but that's because I like the Western genre. It's like something I've always been a fan of. But GTA 5 is an extremely polished game, and I should mention the top selling video games of all time
We lost you for a second.
has this game on here, and it's number 2 at 135 million game sales, only behind Minecraft at 200,000. But to give you like some context, it's above Tetris, which is at 100 million. You know, and Tetris has been around for years.
And I should mention too that a couple people mentioned Minecraft, but of course Minecraft made the top of our PC list when we did top PC games of all time.
Yeah, we were thinking about putting Minecraft on here, but since it was originally a PC game, we figured it was fair to keep that separate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're right, this was during that era. But another thing to mention is that GTA 5 was on the PS3 and the 360. It was on the PS4 and the Xbox One, and now it's going to be on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X/X.
Yeah, until they finally give us a GTA 6.
Is that once? Yeah. So this game
I'm just laughing at the situation here. But
was so good that it's been on 3 eras of consoles now. And a lot of people also mentioned that Rockstar used to pop out games every like couple years or every other year. And once this game came out, people like basically were having so much fun in the online gaming mode for GTA 5. Rockstar stopped making new games until like Red Dead 2. And I don't even think they've done much DLC for this game for the single player campaign mode. It's just all been stuff for GTA 5 online. So that's just goes to show it's kind of like when Valve had a lot of success with Steam, they got lazy and stopped making new games. Rockstar had so much success with the online mode for GTA 5, they got lazy and really slowed down their games. So anyway, just had to make sure that we gave a little bit of context there.
Right, but eventually there will be a GTA 6, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Last thing I want to say about this game is, again, just fun, goofy moments like this crazy moment where Michael's mad because he found this guy sleeping with his wife, and now they're gonna they taken a truck to the guy's pillars of his house, and they're about to knock over the entire house. Like, this is just a great little moment here.
Oh man!
And then of course they find out afterwards it wasn't that guy's house. Oh wow! And it actually belongs to like a mob boss or something. Of course. Anyways, that's GTA 5 for you. Now,
one last thing, the character Trevor is hilarious in this video, and when you like jump to him, one of my favorite moments was he was like on an electric scooter on the freeway when I jumped to him, and he's just going, "We are scooter buddies," and it was just the most random thing in the world, and I used to quote that with Richie all the time. So all right, that was my last thing on GTA 5.
Okay, our number one game of this generation we're talking about right now is, of course, without a doubt, Skyrim. Skyrim! And the reason why it's Skyrim, I mean, if it's not openly obvious to you, is this... Okay, so the Elder Scrolls series, one of the best series of all time. But, you know, just like Grand Theft Auto, they got to Skyrim, which is Elder Scrolls 5, and they kind of stopped. We still don't have Elder Scrolls 6. And it's been 9 years since Skyrim came out. But the reason why, I mean, some people are very upset, but what keeps this game going is, of course, they've released this on every platform and, you know, smartphone, smart fridge device there is out there at this point. But Skyrim is still the best open world adventure game that there is. You literally, you know, climb mountains, defeat evil wizards, fight dragons, go on epic quests to save an empire or defeat an empire, depending on the choices you make, you know. And, you know, so, you know, there's so many, like, different things. There's, like, you can join a cult. You can go fight a cult. You can become a werewolf. You can become a vampire, you know, depending on the circumstances you get yourself in. The game has so much to it. The world of Skyrim is huge. And the amount of things you can do in this game are almost endless, you know. Just the combat is seamless. Being able to have a sword in one hand and your magic in the other, or two swords, or two hands full of magic. It doesn't matter. The game lets you basically do whatever you want. The amount of armor and equipment you can put on yourself, the amount of spells is incredible. Your upgrade progression tree is incredible. Literally, as far as open world adventure fantasy settings go, every game wishes they were Skyrim. Skyrim is just the pinnacle of everything that this kind of game wants to be, and it still holds up. I mean, I could play Skyrim today and have just as much fun, and it's just such a fantastic game. It has aged perfectly, especially if you are either playing it modded on PC or you're playing like the special edition on the PS4. The game just keeps getting upgraded. And people keep finding new things about it. It is a perfect game. It is hard for me to say because I love a lot of games. Like I love New Vegas, but Skyrim is a perfect game. There's nothing bad about Skyrim at all, and that's my piece.
Very nice. I never played Skyrim.
It's a shame.
I know I need to someday, and they even put it on the Nintendo Switch, which kind of blew me away. And of course, it's on PC as well, so if I got it, I'd probably get it for PC. But I remember when this game came out, like the whole world was talking about it. Every social media website I followed, like Reddit, was just nothing but nonstop Skyrim. All the YouTubers I followed were talking about Skyrim or making Skyrim videos. I remember it was huge, and it's still to this day something that people still talk about. Similar to GTA 5, it's constantly getting re-released on new consoles because it came out on the 360 and the PS3, but then it was re-released on the PS4 and the Xbox One, and then it was also put on the Switch. So it has a legacy that, for someone who never played the game, I'm very much aware of it and how massively popular it was. And the last thing I'll mention is Rich and I touched on this a bit in our Breath of the Wild Zelda video when we ranked our top 10 Zelda games, and even Nintendo borrowed some of the Elder Scrolls game mechanics, because we talked about how Zelda really kind of set the groundwork for what we expected in like an open world game, or I guess an adventure game. And then I think Elder Scrolls took the flag and pushed forward and developed that genre even more, to the point where Zelda, I think, borrowed some of that stuff. So it just goes to show how massively impactful this has been on the franchise. Maybe not Elder Scrolls Skyrim specifically, but the franchise as a whole.
Breath of the Wild. I mean, I used to joke when Breath of the Wild first came out that it was Zelda Skyrim. It very much is like like a Zelda game through the lens of like a Skyrim type interface. And like it is great. I love Breath of the Wild, obviously too. That was the top of our Switch list, I believe. Right? Or am I thinking of just our Zelda list?
Yes. Breath of the Wild. We ended up. Well, spoilers. It was number one. We picked Breath of the Wild over Ocarina of Time.
We haven't done a top 5 Switch?
No, we did. Okay, we did Switch. Yeah.
All right. Well, spoilers for
that. Yeah. Well, the only Nintendo console we have not done is Wii U. That's the only one we're missing.
Well, that's okay.
A lot of the good games got deluxe re-releases on the Switch. But anyway. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to say about this era, Rich?
I think that's about it. I mean, this is obviously, it's a very broad and good era of gaming. I do not necessarily think it's the best era of gaming, but I mean, that is, kind of its own thing. I think there was just a lot of great games, and I love Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and I'm a big, I guess I'm just a Bethesda fanboy, except for the last few years here where they've been pretty terrible. But and obviously I like the Rockstar games as well, and Final Fantasy should be getting better now. But that's all I really have to say about that. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our list. All right,
Very
guys.
Nice.
Don't forget to follow our social media links below. Sorry, Chris, is there something else you want to say?
I was going to say the same thing. but you, yeah, I was gonna say the biggest shout out I would say is I think most of you are part of our Discord, but we've been having a lot of fun hanging out there. So join the Discord. I wanted to thank our members, Killjoy and Marty Man. If you guys want to join and be a Rich Alvarez member, you get a cool icon, you get access to some special emojis. And then again, a special thanks to everybody who super chatted today. So thank you again, GN News, Marty Man, Killjoy, and EDMG. We really appreciate the super chats. And then thank you, of course, to everybody else who jumped in and joined the live chat and watched today.
Yeah, all right. So, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to like this video. When it becomes a public video after it's done streaming, like it again. Leave a comment just saying like what your favorite PS3 and or 360 game was. You know, and if you haven't yet, for whatever reason, subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell your mom to subscribe, and hit that bell icon, and then click the thing to stay notified. So that way, this channel can continue to do exactly what we're doing now.
Very nice. And as far as what Rich and I are doing for side projects, I wanted to mention both of us just got Super Mario 3D All-Stars. I have been streaming Sunshine on my personal YouTube channel, Silver Shadow 721. So I think most of you have been in my live streams, but if you're not, check the link below and be sure to subscribe to my side channel if you want to watch me play Sunshine or other games. And then Rich, I think you mentioned that you were even thinking about potentially streaming something as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be streaming some Galaxy on here at some point.
Whoa, Galaxy over 64?
Yeah, and I was right, by the way.
What?
If you have a Switch Pro controller, you can play the whole thing with your Pro controller. No motion controls needed, so that's very good. And I can't wait to show you all. Anyways, it's going to be great. I'll be doing that at a random time at some point this week. So, basically never leave the RichAlvarez channel is all I'm trying to say. But anyways, yeah, thanks all for joining us today. I think it's about it. Anything else you want to say, Chris?
Just wanted to say thanks again for watching, everybody, and we hope to see you all on a future stream.
All right, guys, well, have a wonderful day
and an even more pleasant tomorrow.
All right, bye.
See ya.